Were we?
You were saying that most of your missions then, your position was up here.
That's right. And the way you flew on in the lead cruise in the latter part of the activity, the radar operator here, the primary navigator, lead navigator here, up in the front, in place of the gunner, in the front turret, was the pilotage navigator. So the lead navigator was running dead reckoning continuously. He had to have just a complete map of everything that happened from start to finish. The radar operator would of course give you information if it was overcast, and the pilotage operator, who was sitting right smack up there in the front of that airplane, could tell everybody what was going on, where the other airplanes were, and also give me information on pilotage, where they saw a particular, maybe here's a city or whatever.
And would they report that it's off to the left, off to the right, how far? Or
That's right. And then I'd work that into the overall map that we were working with. Then we would go up to the initial point. I'd take them up to the initial point. And then the pilot and lead pilots were very, very important because, for example, people don't think much about it probably, but when you hit the initial point, have all these airplanes in formation, the pilot has got to very carefully make his turn. So it wasn't a matter of racking the airplane up like that. It was maybe a 10-degree bank turn, take it around. So leave the initial point and the target's straight out in front of you. And no matter what happens, whether it's fighters, whether it's flak or whatever, you just keep driving straight, absolutely straight. From the initial point into the target, the bombardier has control of the airplane.
Now, what about the 10-degree turn? Is the bombardier handling that turn?
No, the pilot actually handles the turn, because I tell them when they will hit the point that they should start to turn, and then I can go to sleep. In fact, I didn't, because what I used to do, I'd take that time while they were making the bomb run and the flak around, and to keep your mind off of it, I used to fix my log. I'd make the log perfect. And so anyway, the bombardier takes it over there, and then when the bombs are away, after he's worked it out and got it properly set up, automatically the bombs go out. On the lead crew, all the bombs are dropped, and the bombs have smoke markers with them, and everybody else that's flying formation on him release their bombs. There's salvo them. Do you know the reason they did that?
I think I've heard it, but tell me.
Okay, when on these early raids, like I mentioned, 12 airplanes, and here now how do you handle thousands of airplanes? Well, one of the things, you have to fly in tight formations in groups, and actually there's 3 divisions in the 8th Air Force. 2 divisions of B-17s, 1 division of B-24s, about 500 airplanes in each division. Those are broken down into groups. Now, within the groups, we were the 445th, like I mentioned. Within the groups, you'd have a lead crew. I mentioned every 4 missions you'd always fly. And on these, let's see, I'm getting old.
And you're getting off the point of the smoke markers.
Pardon me?
We started with smoke markers.
Oh, okay. Okay, so drop the smoke markers. Where the lead crews came from, way back in the early times, every bomber, heavy bomber, had a Norden bomb sight and a bombardier that used it. So every time they bombed, it was each airplane would be working, aiming, dropping his bombs. Well, as you began to get more than 12, you began to have things scattered out. They began to learn about formations. You began to be hit by fighters. You better fly close together for protection, things like that. And so the bombs also, when you bombed that way, they were just all over the place. And Hap Arnold got a bunch of college professors and brought them in, and I think that's where operations research was invented. And he'd send these guys, mathematicians, physicists, and whatnot, send them out to the bomb groups, have them live with them and work with them, learn what they did and then figure out how to do it better. One of the things was lead crews. Instead of having everybody bomb haphazardly, what it boiled down to when you've got large numbers of airplanes, it would be lead. You would either be a lead of a squadron or lead of a group or lead of a wing or lead of a division.
Did all the leads drop smoke marker bombs?
And that's right. And the leads would drop, the leads and the deputy lead both would drop smoke markers. And so everybody would drop on it, and it had a fabulous improvement in bombing accuracy. And it also had a great improvement in terms of having the airplanes fly together tight in formation so that you protect you against fighters.
Does that mean because the navigator's not each individually navigating?
That's correct. So it would be the, if you were a squadron lead, then you would be the only navigator other than the deputy. There'd be a deputy lead also. If you were a group lead, you'd lead the whole group and have 3 or 4 squadrons.
So
if you were a division lead, you'd have all of the groups behind you, and that would be about 12 of them.
So they would just be following information on your lead.
That's right.
Rather than navigating themselves individually.
They would, with the exception that each group, each division, B-17s or B-24s, each wing, each group, each squadron had a lead. So each of those would have the navigators, the pilots were lead navigators, bombardiers the same. And those leads would all drop, and they would have smoke markers. So you'd have smoke markers from the lead airplanes, these airplanes, these airplanes, and these airplanes. And everybody would go out on that. And it just improved, and they did it by groups. They would salvo by groups, and it really improved the bombing accuracy tremendously.
So did each one of those lead aircraft have the configuration that you described, where in this area there would be a lead navigator with a desk and his charts and what, sextant, octant, or
all that stuff, yeah.
all that stuff? So what would be here? Is it?
It would be the instrument panel up here, and you had all of your instruments, your altimeters. You had half the instruments, probably a quarter of the instruments that he had up in the front. And
should I scan those instruments? I've got them on tape from before, but let's just scan here what we're talking about. Would you have airspeed?
Pardon?
Would you have airspeed?
Oh, you'd have airspeed, altitude, rate of climb. You'd have temperature, outside air temperatures, radio compasses. Must have been maybe 6 or 8 others. That would take care of them. Now, it does so happen that some of the airplanes in the earlier days, and I had a few missions like this, where the lead crew, it was a lead crew in a lead airplane, but you were in the front instead of having the navigator here. And did I tell you that you take the place of the turret gunner, the nose turret gunner?
You might have.
That was the pilotage navigator. And one of the things that I remember so well on that is you had doors that opened this way behind the turret.
Well, we can go down there and see if they still have those doors, huh?
Okay, well keep this in mind when you see it. You open them that way, and no matter what the reason for the fellow flying in there, whether it was the pilot and navigator or the gunner, if you ever open those doors and your maps were all down here in front, you can go like that and you get them, and it was awful. And it'd take you probably 15 minutes to finally get back again, and all he wanted to do was take a leak or say hello to something. Okay, you want to go down?
Yeah, let's do that.